What do you make of the situation currently between South Africa and Rwanda?
What I make of the current situation, it was a situation overdue. Because looking at what Rwanda has been doing, here we have a situation of political refugees who have run away from the country. And the country from which they've run away from persecution follows them where they have run for refuge. Then, of course, it's very concerning.
Now, there are reports of the Rwandan government accusing South Africa of harboring dissidents responsible for terrorist attacks in Rwanda. What do you say to that?
Of course, it is sheer ignorance or disregard of facts by the Rwandan government, because it knows very well that these are political refugees who are here legally. And we believe that Rwanda, if it had facts to that effect, it should have brought it to South Africa like Nigeria did it with Oka Henry. But we know that Rwanda, that's not the policy. Actually, it is its policy to kill its opponents. We have seen it being done with Karegeya. We have seen it being done in Nairobi, attempted assassination of General Kayumba, my stabbing. So clearly, Rwanda, the way it deals with opponents is to kill them. Yes.
You call them political refugees. So the reason for them being here is because they seek refuge from South Africa. Why?
Because you see, Rwanda, we believe that Rwanda is a total dictatorship which does not actually tolerate any dissenting views. General Kayumba Nyamwasa, who was the chief army, ran from Rwanda because of political persecution. So is Karegeya, so is many others that are here in South Africa. And we see that Rwanda does not actually tolerate any. Look at Ingabire, who came for elections from Netherlands. Today she's languishing in jails. So basically Rwanda has become a totalitarian regime which does not tolerate any dissenting views. And embassy here of Rwanda, we are talking about here, hasn't actually been carrying out to diplomatic missions. It's here to coordinate intelligence, to hunt the opposition leaders. And this is the position of Rwanda, and hasn't denied it.
Are you concerned about your safety and other Rwandans in the country?
Definitely. We are very much concerned. But with the action of South Africa, maybe Rwanda is going to draw a lesson out of it, because it is going to be a bit hard for the Rwandans to, the government of Rwanda to coordinate these kind of attacks in this country without having such an embassy, which makes it easier in disguise to actually hunt down using the Rwandan communities inside here in South Africa.
But do you feel safe, though, in South Africa?
We should say the safety is of much concern. And we have argued South African government also to actually send a strong message about this kind of actions by Rwanda. But the safety, of course, we are very much concerned, but we believe South Africa is doing what it can do to protect the Rwandans who are here.
Now, the political spat between the two countries, or the diplomatic row, do you think that that could be maybe the beginning of a solution to the problem that you have?
We believe so, because this is an indication that South Africa understands the plight of the Rwandan people, and so is the governments in the region. Take an example of Tanzania. The president told the regime in Rwanda to actually talk to the opposition. So we've been seeing this trend where Kagame does things with impunity. We can talk about what was happening in Congo, the M23 issue. But the fact that the South Africans and the Tanzanians had to use force to take out M23, we see relative peace in Congo. So now we believe when the region also refuses this kind of impunity from Rwanda, maybe soberness will reign into the Rwandan regime to understand that it is high time to talk to the opposition rather than using this kind of policy of hunting and assassinating the opposition leaders and the opponents at large.
You also mentioned the dictatorship by Paul Kagame, the current president. What would you like to see happen?
Of course, we would want to see that Kagame himself changes his stance on the political space, allowing justice to work, allowing the media to work, because all these kind of institutions have collapsed completely in Rwanda, whereby you only see one newspaper engineered by the voices of the government. So we believe that when the democratic institutions must be allowed to work. So, and this can only be done by the regional leadership actually condemning this kind of behavior by Rwandan government.
So what you're suggesting is that democracy is not at work in Rwanda?
Certainly, that without a doubt.
Do you think that then the AU could step in and assist? Or what avenues have you tried thus far?
Of course, definitely. We're engaging the regional leaders to actually, because Rwanda has, from the genocide, we thought that things are going to change for the better. But we see that the card of genocide has been used actually to entrench dictatorship in our country. And this is not helping reconciliation that we would want to see happening in the country. So basically what we've been saying is, if this kind of attitude continues, we may see actually Rwanda going back to where it has been in 1994, because we're having a total dictatorship, which hasn't helped the Tutsis or the Hutus to reconcile, but it has only helped entrench the dictatorship in the country, which we may not know the outcome of such kind of attitude by the government of Rwanda.
You've mentioned also the assassination of the Chief General here in, was it the Chief General here in South Africa?
The Chief of Intelligence, former Chief of Intelligence, Patrick Karegeya.
Are you suggesting that there's genocidal tendencies here?
The genocide?
Genocidal tendencies from the government in terms of making sure that the opposition does not speak, and of course is there, but maybe the question should be, do you still feel that there is that genocidal tendencies in the country in terms of the separation between Hutus and Tutsis? Not
quite. You see, the problem of Rwanda has been political, but the politicians use it, these separation tendencies to actually entrench themselves in power. Karegeya, who was killed, was a Hutu. This was a Tutsi. I'm being hunted, I'm a Tutsi, and the regime is called to be the Tutsi regime. But Kagame is not protecting Tutsis, not protecting Rwandans. He's just entrenching his own interest as a dictator. But the world must understand that this kind of genocide, when you look, I told you the opposition leader now in jail in Rwanda, who is a Hutu, she never participated in any genocide. But there is this kind of law in Rwanda that the crime of ideology. You see, these are all laws enacted simply because they want to curtail the rights of the people so that there can be no dissenting views. And that is the tendency we see, that when the Rwandans can no longer now have that freedom to speak their mind, what boils within them tomorrow will not understand or cannot be controlled.
Now, Frank, your next move?
Our next move as Rwandan National Congress, we are a peaceful organization. We're urging the regional leaders to tell Kagame in no unequivocal terms that we need to settle the issues of Rwanda peacefully. And Rwanda should stop using these tactics of calling us terrorists, calling us genociders, because whoever that doesn't speak the same language with Rwanda government is a terrorist, is a traitor for the part of the Tutsis. But we believe that this tendency should stop so that Rwanda can open up for dialogue and can talk peace, so that we can have peace in Rwanda and proper reconciliation.
And that dialogue should be with the opposition?
Definitely should be with the opposition. Yes, because we're having the FDLR, which has been condemned in the bushes. And for the last decade or so, we see them still in the bushes. But how are they planning? Because they've been fighting with them until today. But how are they envisioning solving those problems? Because they're still Rwandans. So they need to listen to their grievances, listen to all the opposition, come to a table and actually speak peace, without which we can never see peace in Rwanda.
As the Rwandan National Congress, are you engaging with government at present, or is there no such talks?
There are no such talks with them, because the Rwandan government, as I said, it is the attitude of absolute power. They believe that if you do not speak the same language, you just should die. So this is the kind of culture we are saying should stop. This is why we say, look in Uganda. They go and pick everybody as they wish. We're having like more than 26 opposition leaders, news reporters who have reported so-called negative about the government being picked like nobody's business. So this is the kind of situation we want to seize, to stop. Look, they have come here in South Africa now. So if this tendency is allowed, it is giving an indication that Rwanda can get you everywhere you are. So that is the impunity that we are saying should stop. Rather than Rwanda doing that, should actually engage the opposition and the people who are not agreeing to the way the government is being governing the country to come on the table and speak peace to resolve the problems of the country.
Frank, thank you so much for your time and joining us in studio.
Thank you for having me.
That was the Rwandan National Congress Chairman, Frank Ntwali, on the development on the diplomatic fallout between Rwanda and South Africa and its implications on them and us.